Alright, peace and greetings, YouTubers. Abigail, you tried it. Now, I was going to try to pronounce that last name, but that PH had me a little messed up. I didn't know if that was Elphick or Elphick, or it is what it is. Y'all always talk about black folks and our first names, but some of them last names y'all be having, alright? Hitting Roxinska. I'm like, what did you just say? I said it's Hitting Roxinska. Okay, and they get an attitude. It's French and Polish. Okay, well, listen, y'all didn't offer that at my school, so I don't know what you want me to do. But, long story short, there is a video that has gone viral where it shows a woman who's having a meltdown in a Victoria's Secret at a mall, specifically for about 20 minutes. And the video shows a woman, specifically a white woman, Abigail, who's attacking this black woman with a camera. So you see her lunging towards the camera, and then all of a sudden she realizes she's on camera, and this means, hey, you just may go viral for doing something terrible today. And so she snaps back into, oh no, I don't want to be that aggressor, so she jumps into the victim role and has a meltdown for 20 minutes where she drops to her knees and is screaming, and she doesn't want to be on camera. And she does this whole thing for like 20 minutes. I mean, it's a whole show, and it gets more intense as you keep watching. It goes from her crying to her screaming to her laying on the floor and having convulsions and shaking, and then all of a sudden she says she was having a mental breakdown. Then it shows her chasing the woman who had the camera while she's telling the woman to get away from her. Imagine chasing somebody saying, get away from me. I was like, I don't know how this works, but okay. All right. And so all of these different things happen. And so initially when I saw the video, I thought it was fake. I didn't think it was real. I thought it was one of those videos where, you know, sometimes they make fake scenarios happen so that they can go viral, because it happens all the time. But then as I realized that there were 6 parts, and the 5th and the 6th part show the woman who's holding the camera at the police station filing a complaint because she didn't like how the police handled the situation. I was like, yo, this is actually real. Wow, okay, interesting. Now, I do know, and I've read that Abigail does have a condition, so for those of you who want to come in and chew me out because you think that I'm attacking somebody, absolutely not, because at the end of the day, racism does not filter out with condition. I know a whole lot of folks who have all kinds of conditions and still know how to use the N-word, and I'm sorry, Abigail knew exactly what she was doing. She's using her tears as a weapon to pretty much gain protection or gain, you know, some advantage in that situation where she was deemed the aggressor. Flipping the script. That's something white women have always done, and so I'm not going to buy into using her specific condition as the excuse as to why she behaved the way she did at that store, because again, she also works as a teacher's aide. And we all know that working in a classroom is a very stressful environment where you have a bunch of children who sometimes don't listen, they talk back, they have attitude, they cry, they do all kinds of different things, they're disrespectful, and it can be stressful trying to manage a room of 20 or 30 kids. Just imagine running a center. Welcome to my world. So I'm kind of like, no, I don't want to hear it. And so again, white women, here's my thing. The tears bit is getting old. It really is. Now, sadly, we still live in a society where that crap works, but like I said, it's getting old. I need you all to go ahead and call up the Blonde and Brunette Coalition and figure out a plan B that does not involve using your tears as a weapon, specifically a weapon that's dangerous to others, specifically black folks. It's getting old. And again, now you guys can't continue to use the same thing because the whole world has seen what your trick is. We've seen it with Amy Cooper. We've seen it with Barbecue Becky. We've seen it with all of the videos that have gone viral in the past few years. And this is nothing new under the sun. These are conversations people have been having for years. And I could go down the cliche road of all the different events and examples of when white women have used their tears as a weapon and how it ended up in pretty much becoming something dangerous, whether we talk about Emmett Till or George Stinney or the Scottsboro Boys or Tulsa, Oklahoma or Rosewood or some of the other race attacks that took place in different cities. But we could even get more specific. We could even just talk about how it even affects policy. All right, we can go back to Greenville, South Carolina during World War II. One of the things that took place during that time period was a lot of black women worked as domestic workers. All right, they worked as maids and nannies for white families. When the war took place, and a lot of black men were also serving the country, white women pretty much were frustrated because black women went back home. They stopped working for these families and they took care of their own families. They raised their own children, which they'd already been doing. They were raising their children plus white women's children, but now they were specifically raising their own because they needed to be home. They were doing everything they needed to do amongst their own within their families. And so it got to the point that so many white women and white families complained about the lack of workers and the lack of service and help that they needed, where pretty much an ordinance was made where it was illegal for black women to not work, or they would face a heavy fine or go to jail. What does that mean? When you go back to the era, black women were only allowed certain kind of work to begin with anyway. They couldn't go and be engineers or scientists, or, you know, they couldn't work at the bank. There were only certain careers that they could work in. And so, of course, it was being a seamstress. It was being a maid. It was being a nanny. It was being a chef or being a cook. And so here we go. Black women who left certain families to go and take care of their own ended up going right back to the same places where they worked before because, again, white women complained. They didn't want to raise their own kids. They didn't want to do anything. This is when we get into the conversation and the origins of things like the Bridge Club and the Rummy Club and the Crazy Eights Club. People always think, oh, it's because women retired and they needed something to do. No, you had a lot of women who were young, in their late 20s, 30s, 40s, who did not work because they had black women raising their kids and taking care of the household, and they had all the time in the world to start all kind of clubs and junior leagues and everything else like that. And so that's where we are. Again, tears have been used as a weapon in all kind of instances. Another perfect example, which is not policy, but it's just reality. I always remember in high school, one of the funniest bits was there was this girl who was running for student body president. This white girl was running, right? Now, I went to a school that was pretty diverse, but again, it was still segregated by the time you got to the lunch tables. Everybody sat with who they could relate to culturally. And so the girl wanted to pretty much get the black students to vote for her because she needed enough of the black delegation to kind of win. She didn't speak to any of the black kids, though. So she decided, okay, I'm going to bring Kool-Aid and cookies and give it to the black table at lunch. The school nurse found out about it. The school nurse was one of two black people that worked at the high school. So she made a complaint about it. What do you think happened? The girl that was running started crying and flipped the script and turned it into, oh, the nurse is racist against white people. This is reverse discrimination. This is reverse racism. And hell broke loose at the school. Long story short, the girl still lost. But again, people know what they're doing. And that's the thing about Abigail. She knew what she was doing. And that's why she kept turning it up a notch each and every time. When she realized nobody was paying attention to her, the first time she dropped to her knees and started screaming, she had to take it up a notch. Now let's paint it like my life is in danger. So I'm going to bring up the fact that I have a condition and now it's being triggered. So let me do that. Let me lay on the floor and start shaking. Let me just make it a little bit worse. Oh, that's not working? Okay, now let me really scream and act like I'm dying. Now let me chase after the woman and do everything. And then finally, she gets her ally. There's another white woman in the line who tells the black woman with the camera, why don't you move away from her? Meanwhile, the woman with the camera is way back there. Abigail is up there by the woman with the register, or by the woman who's standing in the line. And it's like, why are you telling her to move away when she's not the aggressor? She's just standing there recording, letting the woman give an entire show. Oscar worthy. So again, it's funny how you see the tables turn. And so like I said, we've seen this. They know what they're doing. And then again, that doesn't quite work. What is the next step? Call the police. Oh yes, get the police there. And so it just goes and it goes and it goes. And again, it's just like you keep seeing that exact same pattern. And it only works with white women. Black women don't get the luxury of crying and getting things their way because black women are not seen as vulnerable. They're not seen as virtuous. They're not seen as soft because society has pretty much created racist tropes and stereotypes and generalizations where, based on what history has said about black women are deemed as extremely strong and they don't cry, they don't have emotion, they don't have feelings. This is why black women face discrimination when it comes to healthcare and everything else. When black women are giving birth, they're not seen as being in the same amount of pain as white women. When black women have an injury, they're seen as not having the same amount of what you could say urgency when it's pretty much time to take care of whatever needs to be taken care of. It's not seen in the same realm as white women because white women have been deemed as virtuous and fragile, and that imaging has been there since pretty much the 1800s. Even when you get to the 1900s and you get to films like Birth of a Nation, what was it about? Angry, dangerous black men chasing after the virtuous Christian white woman who has so much vanity, just safe and lovely, and oh my gosh, protect her. And then here comes the hero clan to go and rescue her from the angry, violent black men. So again, that imaging has always been put there. And so it's just like we're tired. But in addition to just Abigail, because this is bigger than Abigail. Abigail's just, another speck in the pan because we see a video like this every week. But again, I'm kind of side-eyeing the people at the store because it's like y'all didn't really do a lot to de-escalate the situation. I'm side-eyeing security a little bit, to be honest. I'm side-eyeing that white woman who decided to tell the camera lady to get away from Abigail when in reality you watched Abigail literally chase this woman around the store. Make it make sense. I'm really side-eyeing the police as well because, again, they didn't take any of it seriously. And even when the woman with the camera was showing what was on the police report, of course, they're going to take Abigail's, report first because she's the one that called. But they did not want to look at the video footage that the woman with the camera had. So they ignored everything she said. And they pretty much created a report from only one side of the story. And so she pretty much, she goes and she files a complaint. But again, think about what would have happened had she not been recording. Think of what the narrative would have been, especially if she would have hit her. The narrative would have changed to angry black woman attacks disabled white woman in a store. You know what I mean? They would have put that imaging out there. That's exactly what happens all the time. So, kudos to the woman with the camera for not popping up upside the head because I was waiting for it. I was ready. I was like, at this point. But again, black folks already know. Like, we just recognize the minute you start putting hands on people, especially white women, it changes everything. And so, again, I need us to do, well, not us. I need y'all to do better. Like, this crap is old. People are tired of this. Y'all keep doing the same thing over and over. It happens in politics. It happens in policy. It happens in law. It happens at the workplace. It happens in establishments. It happens in housing. It happens in education. White women continue to use their tears as a weapon because they know they can. They know there's a system that protects them and allows them to do that. And that's why they can continue to do the shenanigans that they do. And then just notice that those tears only work against other people, specifically black folks. and other folks who are in minority groups. It doesn't work against white folks collectively, but it works against us. Why? Because there's a power structure that allows that to happen. All right? Anyway, we'll see how this unfolds. Side note, TikTok, I'm also looking at y'all funny. It's interesting that every single time a black content creator puts out something on your platform that calls out what's happening in the world when it comes to racism, y'all stay yanking stuff down. Facebook, y'all do that as well. Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. Listen, just know people see what y'all doing. Y'all ain't slick, all right? Anyway, I'm out. Share your 2 cents. Subscribe.
They said they couldn't ride to the music cause it's way too melodic. They despise anything that makes you feel erotic. Take a mile past to strip the windows down to be seen. Stepping out on the weekend as the crew is routine. Cause they act up, call back up, and all the girls are macked up. The DJ spins the record and the lines begin to stack up. Take a step into another deeper dimension while you balance out the moments that should give you attention. Said, hey, you such an actor, taking pictures faster, seeking validation from the ones you used to laugh at. Wait, here's a question that they never really ask us. If you had $1 million, would you spend it on your passions? We're working 9 to death and trying to catch up on our rest. And if you wanna be the best, they claim you have to ace a test. Then we did, so where's our check? Why you blowing up my text? I don't work on Saturdays, see my life is not your thefts. And that's the reason why I choose life.